my topic is 2.2.8, which is section 2's 2.2.8 function declaration and access specifier. So what are the access specifiers into the Swift, and how you can just declare a function, and how many types function types are there into the Swift. That we'll cover it today quickly. So what I need to do, I can create a simple playground, because as I committed, like I'll not focus and will not proceed with the project till that like we can not comfortable into the Swift language. So functions and access specifier into the Swift, right? So functions and access specifiers into the Swift, that project we have created. Now what the list is there, if you don't aware about all my previous videos and previous learning, then just go to this iOSCoderAbhimanyuDaspan YouTube channel and just search for the junior iOS application engineer playlist only, and there you can just see one by one we are creating everything. So section 1 to section 2, now 2.2.7 till 2.2.7 we completed. This is the 2.2.8. so there like we'll proceed with this class and access specifier function and access specifier result. So what I'll do, I'll just copy the whole thing from here and paste it here. Now moving forward, like I want to tell you like what are comments, how you can just comment the code into the Swift. So one line comment will be look like that, like this is a line. If I want to comment it, I'll do // and it will comment it. Now if multiple lines are there, right, str2 is there, then how you will comment this? Then you can just comment it like other languages multi-line commenting will be there, and you need to declare the end of this commenting, right? Rest things will work perfectly. So like that you can just comment with two things, single line with // and the multi-line you can just do like that. Also one more thing is there, mark, how you can just mark the things. So suppose I have a file, and I can just quickly create a file which will be my test file. In that I just created a class A, and in this A class I'm just declaring a function, like some functions are sum, multiply, divide and subtraction. So those are related to operational functions, right? So before moving forward, I'll declare a mark, and my operational functions family will be there like that. So fun sum, and I can declare fun divide like that. We can just declare all the things here, and these things will be related to the minus or subtraction you can just do. So if you will see, the hierarchy is saying operational functions family, and 4 functions will be there, and one more line will also divide here the code. So if you have 1000 functions into a single class, you can just divide the category like that, right? So if you suppose you have another family, then how you can just say this is a getting result family or result family like that, and it will be give you the result only, result integer, result float like that, right? And you can just get result over there like that, right? So it will be look like that. So the code will look great, and your dividation will be there, and your keep in mind, like practice your code like that only. Now everything is with you according to my understanding. Once I'll copy the whole thing, this one, and suppose I want to copy and just paste it here, it will give me error. Now I want to comment it, it's a multi-line, right? So what I will do, I'll declare the multi-line commenting here like that, which we learned just now, right? So this is we completed. Now one by one we'll use the marking also, and we'll use the things like actual thing we just want to learn today is function declaration, right? So you will see instance function, class function, return function, parameterized function, optional parameterized function, generic functions, and blocks. Till that I'll complete it one shot, so you'll understand whole thing very easily, right? So the hierarchy should be instance function first, and then class function should be there, right? So you can just go and create a class, and a will be there, and in this function one by one I'll take care. So instance function, how you will declare a simple instance function, right? So what I will do, I'll say mark, and it will divide instance function declaration. So it will be pretty simple, func and my instance function name, and then I'll do like that, and I'll complete this. This is my instance function. That's all, right? It's my instance function. So instance means I'll call after the creation of object of class A, and then I'll call this function, right? So how you will do, let obj equals to A, and A will be look like that, and on the obj dot I'll call this instance function. It will not directly call on the class name, right? It will give you error, right? So on the object dot instance function you can declare, and you can call this A, instance function will print here the instance function result, right? Now what you need to do, you can just create a class function also, same like that, only just need to, now I'll comment this thing here with a multi-line commenting things. So keep in mind things should be go properly, so look like that. And one more shortcut is there, select all through the command plus a, and then once you will select all, then control I will format your code, control I, right? So control plus I you need to tap, your code will format over there, right? So now what you need to do, you have instance function. Now what you can just do, you can just create a function same like that function, instance function. Here this will be a class function. Now how it will be different, you will add, this is a class, right? Not a struct. Class means reference type, struct means value type. If you don't aware about these things, go and check the history and you will understand the whole thing, right? So you will understand the difference between classes and structure, what is the POP and what is oops, right? So now if you will call this if you want to call this class function here like that, then what you need to do, you need to, it will give you error, hey, this is an instance function, it's an instance member class function. So you can just make it a class function with the adding the key class function, right? Now it will be a class function. Now it's calling on the name of the class rather than creating object. We don't need to create any object, right? Now if suppose I will convert this class to struct, will it work? It will not work. Why? Because it is saying I'm a struct, I'm a value type family, I don't want to class, just declare static. Static will use same like that, it will it's helping us to create a class function, but into the struct it's restricting the overriding thing and it's restricting the object oriented programming, right? So once you'll use this into the struct, it will work perfectly. But when you suppose I just want to create a class, inside the class it is working or not, it will work 100%, but it will stop the overriding. It will stop the overriding. How? Like class B is there and it's inheriting A, because classes can inherit, struct can't, right? So in this if you will go and just override this function, if you will try to override this function, it will say, hey, static function will not override over there, right? Cannot override static member. That's the thing. If you will do class function like that and you will use this, it can be go smoother, right? And you can just override as well. So for restricting this thing static key override thing, and we can use static as a class member as well, right? So this, from both sides we understood what is a static and why we use static. If you want to stop the overriding concept, then you can just make your class function with the static rather than class, right? That's all. Now what you need to do, you can just go and go to the another thing again, command A plus control I, which will just set your code. Now what you need to do, you can just go and declare your return type function now, right? So again, I'll go here, it's a marking of class function, right? Class function declaration. Now you can just go and mark one more thing, it will be mark my return type function. Now what is the return type function? It will be also pretty simple. You will remove these lines, you will remove the static these things, and you can just say return type function, right? So if you can just use the same thing, no worry about this thing, return type function will be there. Now it will return something like, right, bool, something like status will be there, right? Status is okay, is a return type function, right? So it will return you something, and which will be a status, right? Or which will be anything like a string or something like that. So you can just return something, right? It's okay, everything is looking like that. So once you will create a object of A, and then you will call this object, like if you want to check the status, or let status equals to object dot is okay, everything is okay or not, status will be there in front of you, it's a true, and we are just taking this into a another variable. You can define the type as well, better like if you are a library and framework programmer, you can define this, otherwise like Swift is automatically just detecting, and it's pretty smart. If you will declare like that, Swift will ignore this compilation inside that inner automation system. So status is okay. Now this is also perfectly fine. Again, you will just comment this is a return type function, and after then you can just go again, command A and control I will format your code. Then parameterized function, what are the parameterized function? It's also pretty simple. You can just declare a parameterized function like that. You will copy this thing again, you will do like that. It's a parameterized function will be look like that. It will be look like that, like I have a first name as a string and the last name as a string, right? And these are my parameters. Two string parameters are there, first name and last name, and it will give me a full name, right? And you can say like it will give me a full name. So you can just say you can just declare it like that. First will be your first name, and another will be on space, some space will be there, and then another will be your last name. That's all, right? If you are not aware about these things, go and check the all about string in Swift in my series. So yeah, so if you will see, let full name equals to parameterized function or object obj dot parameterized function. First name will be iOS and another will be the coder, right? And it can be a coder, and you can just get that full name. That's all, right? iOSCoder is there. So it's a parameterized function. Now what things are saying optional parameterized function. What is the optional parameterized function? It's also pretty simple. If you will comment this again, same like this commenting, and if you will declare this like this one, it's fine. Now optional parameterized function is saying like whatever parameters are there, that should be optional. Like if I will declare like this optional parameterized function, then I'll go like that optional parameterized function, optional parameterized function. And if I will tell to user like so somebody is using my optional parameterized function, it's restricting over there. Like if you will see, optional parameterized function is saying first name and last name. Optional parameters, if you will see, one function is coming, optional parameterized function with first name and last name. Suppose if I don't want to give first name and last name from my side, like user side, whomsoever is using this function, then what will happen? Default values will go there into this function, right? So if you will define some default values, like suppose first name is iOS, I'm giving some value, right? Then what will happen here? Again, I'll go and just click dot optional thing. Two functions are there. Can you see? Either you can just give the last name and first name will automatically detect there, right? Because it's already there. So default value will go there. So it's generally useful when like you are just making some default configurations. On that time you can use the optional parameterized function, and it will be good thing like if you are creating some sort of UI kind of things, like a beautiful slider you are going to create, then some slider default configuration should be there, like its background color and its selected button color, not selected button color, those things default configuration can be there. So you can just select those configuration with optional parameterized function. This is the difference. So again, if you will just declare this one is also coder, then what will happen? You'll see this is a optional parameterized function. Either you can just give no values, you can set, either you can give first name last name values, or either you can just give one value, like first name will be your iOS something like that, then Java something it will be, and it will bypass this and it will be Java coder. So if you will give some value, it will override that value and it will not use the default value, and whatever the user is giving, that value will be there. That's all right. So now the main topic is coming. What is a generic T function declaration? That is very important and pretty simple. So we'll understand this how it is executing. So I'll mark it again, I'll comment it again. You need to go and just select all and control I, everything will be perfectly fine. Now generic T function, how you will just declare this, I'll tell you, and when it is useful. So what you need to do, you can just for example, you have some methods like if you are aware about into the object oriented programming, like polymorphisms are is two types. One is function overloading and second is function overriding. So overloading is a runtime and overriding is a compile time, right? So overloading, that means a function will be there, and in that function what will come, like the name of the function will be same, and the signatures and return type can be different. So suppose sum is there, and like value a is there and it is integer, and b is there, it is integer, and it will give you return something integer, and which will be your a plus b. That's all right, it will give you the value. So now if I want to pass, if I want to get a sum of two numbers, then what I will do, I'll create obj.sum. A is 5 and b is 5, it should give me 10, right? So it's giving me 10, that means it's perfectly fine. But what will happen if I will give 5.2 and 5.4 or 5. 4, something like that. Then it will give me error. Hey, cannot convert value of type double to expected argument type int. And by default it's coming double because values will go into the double swift, right? If you don't aware about this thing, just go and check my previous YouTube session. There I covered everything properly. So here you need to create a double thing, and it will give you a double result as well, right? So now it's taking like 10.6 also coming, right? So now if you have another one like float, and you are forcing the people like give the float value, and we will give you the result. So suppose if you will copy this and wrapped it with the float value, and you are making it float instead of double, then it will again bark in front of you like, hey, I am a float and no float function is available, type of expression navigated without more context, right? So float is there, but it's not able to call. So now if you will do this and you will you run this, it will give you the value, right? So 3 functions you declare. Signatures are different, and return type is also different, but function name is same. So now that means this type of problem you can solve with the generic is saying I'll be the t, I will be the t means type, so it will be a type, and inside this type, like whatever you can just place whatever you want to place, right? It will be the type. So now t is representing the type, and how you are just going to use this func, and how you need to write the generic function. Sum will be there, and a home of the type will come after sum with these symbols. Type will be the t, and it will be a numeric type, because inside the numeric protocol everything is there, float, double, integer, whatever you want, right? So it is there. So you will create a numeric thing, and it will be a will be the family of numeric, and b will be the family of numeric. It will not like string and all, and whatever numeric value you will pass, like you will pass float, it will give you the result in float. You will pass int, it will give you the result in int. So no need to worry about these things. Now your all things will work in one shot if you will comment everything. So this is called generic. So like you can just pass sum of int, and you can just pass sum of double, everything you can just check it out here. So double will be there, and double by default double will always come double only. So everything is working fine, and results are in front of you. So in the int it's ignoring 0.2 and 0.4, it's giving you the value 2. So like that you can just work on the generic function to our block closer. Like what are the closer, what are the blocks into the Swift. So quickly I'll go there and understand this thing, like mark my block closer function declaration. How you will create a block. So there is a style of creating block. Like suppose I'm creating my first block, so I'm creating my first block first. My first block will look like that. I'll create a small braces like this, then again I'll create another inside this one more left side small bracket cabin, and this right hand side also I'll create one more cabin. So here in this family, I just want to add like some parameters. So this is representing the parameters, whatever parameters you will pass, that will go inside that block by this. And if you want to return, you want to get some return result, then you can just give that value here. Suppose I want to pass a boolean variable, right? And here I'll pass like a name will be there, and the name of, if name will available over there, then I'll pass return true, otherwise I'll say no, right? So what I can just do, and this is my optional block, right? So how I'll create this optional block here, I'll tell you. First I need to register. This is the only I just declare a block. Now definition I just want to give. So like suppose obj a object is there. Now I can just proceed over there, and I can just declare my first block. So how you will declare it, it have a style, like you can just do like these curly braces, and then what you need to do, parameters, what parameters you are passing. I'm just passing a string parameter, so it will be a name I'll get. Now any return type is there, yeah, so that return type I'll do like that, yeah, something is returning. And now inside this block, whatever will happen, you can do your stuff here, right? Do your stuff here. So what you need to do, like you need to check if my name is, let name is a sure name and it's not empty, then I'll understand and I'll print the name. And what I will do, I'll say return a true value, like yeah, name is present over there, else you can just return false, because name is nil there. So once you'll print, it will print nil as well. So it will give you a warning like you are just printing a nil value, but it's fine. Yeah, so value name was defined but never used. Yeah, I need to use this here. One warning will go. This is saying like you are just printing a string optional value. I can just unwrap it with this nil collision operator. I can tell like yeah, no value inside name, right? And now I want to call this block, right? So what I'll do, if let my block is created somewhere, that means the creation of block is available here. So it's created here, that means from line number 1002 to 108 this block will execute. If my block is available there, then what you need to do, because I need to break it out, it's optional chaining as well. So because my first block itself a optional, right? So what I'll do, I'll call my block function like that, yeah, call my block with a name, right? And I'll type a name iOSCoder, right? So once I'll hit this, iOSCoder is coming and my result is coming as a true, right? Can you see? You can store this result as well somewhere if you want to store, right? Status of name, that you can just store somewhere, and this status of name status of name will perfectly work. Now if I will not pass anything like nil, I'll pass there, then what will happen, I need to check no value inside this name and my status is false, right? So like that you can just use the block, that's all. So this is perfectly fine, right? We need to understand the simple initializer and convenience initializer difference, right? So you need to go there and just check like what it is exactly. So simple initializer, suppose I have a class of my view, and this is inheriting from UI view, right? So here, if it is inheriting from UI view, that means it will go to the chain like UI responder, then UI responder to NS object, right? So it will proceed like that. It will go longer and it will check its super classes as well. So if you want to initialize this, then you need to must call this frame of that top it's super view, something like that, init with frame, and whatever frame is coming, that you can just inject here like that. You can initialize. And also it's required a coder function which will tell like, yeah, it's able to initialize, and that is the compulsory super view function which is required once it will initialize on that time. So if initialization is happening with its super it's dependent on the super classes, right? Super classes like UI responder and all. Now I don't want to go with these things. If I don't want to go with these things and I want to create my own convenience function with some custom configuration, then how I can just do this? Like, I'll create my class. A simple class will be there, my view config, right? And in this my view config, I'll say like my view background should appear like where bg color, UI color, and this color can be appear with black color, something like that. And this will be a by optional parameterized function, as you covered here. What is the optional parameterized function that you can use there? It's a powerful weapon. So self dot bg color, and bg color will look like that. So my view configuration, we can just create this init according to our convenience, right? So if you will initialize like that, if you will do like that, if you will do like that, self dot init, by the self dot init, here super dot init is, remember here it is super dot init, here self dot init. Now it will force you to update this thing, the designation, with your convenience. Yeah, I want this convenience. And also it will tell you, okay, whatever. Now it is saying, hey, I am the my view, I have the UI view, but you declare a convenience in it. That means you want to go with your own, you don't want a required in it and all. So it will not give you any error. And I'll remove everything from here, and I'll say like, give me my configuration, right? So the configuration, you can just init your view with your own configuration, right? So once you will declare any object of this view, then my view object will be look like that. If I want to init it with my configuration, then it will go with my configuration like that, right? So, and I'm just declaring like this because there is a dot black optional value is coming over there, optional parameterized value is coming there. If I will remove this, it will bark again like, hey, no value is available, so give me the value, right? And I can just take that value here, right? So you understood like how you can just use convenience rather than just so avoiding to the super things, you can just make your convenience initializer for existing uh, classes. You can use the convenience. Now access specifiers. So access specifiers, how many types are there inside the Swift? We'll quickly cover. So there, I'll just tell you these things, right? So quickly we'll go and cover one by one, and you'll feel strong over there after completing this session. Yeah, so these things I'm just covering here. Like public and open, I'll tell you later. Private thing, right? So if you are creating a public and open difference, I'll tell you, like how I'll tell you with some another example so that you can just understand it properly. Private function, like here only I can just tell you, okay, public, that means public class A is there, right? And this public class A have a function func test me is there, right? And it will tell you print from A, right? Now if I want to override any function into the class B through A, then I can just override, right? This one here, right? So what it is saying, yeah, it's duplicating because at the top I just declared the A. Yeah, now what it is saying, method does not, now it is able to override, right? But if I will give open, then also I think here it will show, here it will show the result and it will be able to override as well. And you can just use this, like let B object B, and B will look like that, and you can just use this B dot test me and it will come with a from B, right? But here it's working perfectly, the open keyword, and we are able to override the things. But quickly I'll go and just tell you like why open is used for the frameworks and library. I'll create one example for this public and open. So I need to create a workspace, and here only I'll create a test workspace, and in this test workspace only, it's an empty test workspace, right? So I'll create a project, and this project will be a framework. Suppose I'm creating a framework, and I'm creating a test framework here, which will go inside my test workspace, and this is a framework rather than a project. So inside that, if I'm creating a class, like this class will be a test class, and this test class have same things whatever inside my workspace, right? So whatever there inside my workspace, I'll only go through that workspace thing, yeah, this open thing, right? So if you will just declare this open class test me from A function is there, perfectly fine. Now what I will do, I'll go to the product, I'll see this one, okay, this is perfectly fine. I'll create another project. That project will be my iOS application, and it will be my example application where I'll use this framework, right? And that will also be the part of test workspace. And if you will see, parallelly two projects are created into the workspace. So you understood like how we can just work in multiple projects with a single framework as well. And now if you will see, I have two schemas as well. So I'll run first my test here. I'll go to its product, and I'll copy this product here, or I'll go to example and I'll paste it here and drag it here, right? So once I'll drag it here, it will give me a import my test thing, right? Test module, which I created just now, and there is a test class which have a function test me, right? So if I have a test me function, then what I can just do, I can call this object that obj equals to test, and test can be look like that, and it will also give me the error because the function will not come by because it's not public. So that is called public, and if I'm giving this as a public and I'll rerun this, changes will reflect over there because it is in same workspace. So test will come here, right? And test came here, and once I'll run this example, test will execute properly. It is saying the initializer, which is a internal label, so by default things will be internal. So if you want to create this initializer, if you want to access this, then create a initializer like that and make it public, then only it will reflect over there into your application and error will vanish from this, right? So like that you are able to succeed this, and once you will see on the console, result will be there, I am from A. But what is the difference between, what is the difference between public and open, that I want to tell you. So from A I am coming and I am calling here perfectly fine, but suppose I created a new class, and the class is test2, and which will going to inherit from import test module and class test2. I'm just creating with the test module. Will it be possible? So so it is saying cannot inherit from non-open class. Can you see? Test outside of its defining module. So that is the big difference. For this only I created the whole example. So the non-open class will not able to override, not able to like inheritance will not possible through the public keyword. So if you want to inherit your things, if you want to expand the things in future, then you can make it open rather than public, right? So that is a big difference. Try to understand. So that is a big difference. So now if you will run this, your framework class is able to inheritance can be there through the open only, and test me can be override because this is open. So open is saying you can inherit from me to other classes, and you can use my functions as the override functions of your subclasses. If you will assign me public, I'll fire the errors in your existing projects wherever you are using me, right? So that is the difference between open and public. Hope you understood this thing properly, right? So that is a big difference. So now I want to override non-open instance. Yeah, now it is. So override non-open instance method outside of its defining module. So what is the error again? So if you will see inside the test, I made it public. So if I want to override, I can make it open. That's why it can work over there, right? Because of this only it was giving the error. So if you want overriding, if you want overriding, if you want inheritance, then you need to use open rather than classes, rather than public, right? That is a big difference. So you understood by the public and open thing. Now again public and open we covered here through that beautiful example. Now what I'll do, I'll cover the private set file private properly here. So what we need to do, we can just create a simple class again, and that class is a simple class test. Inside that variable name is a property string, and that string property have a name like iOSCoder, and if you will go and just write a object test, and test will be look like that. So public open you understood, private that means if you will initialize this as a privately, initialize its parameter privately, then it will not able to create itself. So I'm just creating this private, so now you will not able to create your function as well, like you can just you can't create your object of this class because initializer is private now. That means the scope will be inside the class only, outside it will not call. So this is the private thing. Now private set, it is not calling on functions, it is calling on variables. Private set where name string is like that, right? So what is the difference between this? Suppose I have a print object dot name, it will print the thing, and also it will change the thing like Java coder, right? So Java coder, it will change, and it will change the things properly, and object dot name again it will be a iOS to Java coder, right? Now what I want to tell you, like private set, if I will say, that means I can get the things but I can't set the things, right? Cannot assign a property name, setter is inaccessible. So only the setter is inaccessible, getter you can just call, right? And if you will do like private set, this thing like getter and setter both will be not accessible, and it will give you error, right? So for getting the property it's perfectly fine, but for setting it will be the private only. So get only property is declared by this single line. Now file private set, that means I am a file private setter, whomsoever is calling me, right, he can just change me as well. Test, right? And he can just change me as well, because I have the scope till file private, right? So if I have a class B and I'm just initiating with the test, and suppose I have a let obj2, and it will initiate from the B, and B will initialize like that, and obj2 will call the name equals to testing. Will it work? Yeah, it's also working, right? So it's also working. So now if I want to change, I want to print the obj2 dot name, will it work? Testing is working. That means whomsoever, file private set means till my file scope will exist till that anybody can just set me, right? Outside that it will not possible. Mutating internal static and class, if you don't aware about the static and class things, then you can see my YouTube channel. There I just covered everything into the series. If you will go and check here, I have a series, junior iOS application series, engineer course is available. So here if you will see, this series. So once you will reach there, you will understand the whole thing. Yeah, so two playlists are there. Junior iOS application in the course. Yeah, this one. So here you need to understand like what is a reference type and value type. Here I just declare the difference between and uh, static and class, right? So static and class keyword difference briefly is available there. Just check over there. Now the last thing I want to tell you, uh, what is a convenience, that also I described above. Internal and mutating. So internal, that means suppose this is the function init. By default it is an internal function. By default it is an internal function. So whether you are writing this internal and the init, both are same. Don't worry about this thing. So by default they will be internal always. Now the mutating. Okay, so mutating, I want to tell you, suppose you have a struct test and inside that you have a function, you have a variable property name, right? And it is a string property, and you have a function like update, and here you are just updating self dot name equals to abhi or something like iOSCoder, right? Now what it will tell you, hey, cannot assign to property self is immutating, right? So it is saying mark method mutating to self mutating, right? So inside the struct, as you know, the struct is value type. If you don't know the things, again you need to check this 2.2.7, right? You will understand. So the value type, struct is a value type, it will give a copy of the another thing. So it is saying it, I will not allow to change the values inside me only, inside the functions. So how you will change those things? So by creating this mutating, it will be able to generate its like values, right? Stored values. So like that you can just use the mutating. If you want to change the properties inside the struct and you want to update them through their functions, you need to update that function, and you need to create that function with the mutating keyword. Then only you can just update things, right? So that is the last access specifier it was. So hope you enjoyed the whole thing. We understood today like what are the functions declaration into the Swift, what are the access specifiers, what is the difference between public and open, static, class, and all the access specifiers we understood here. So if you really like this, then kindly, and if it's a valuable for you, then kindly share it with your friends and family. Thank you so much for watching this, and in next future tutorial I'll try to cover the Swift basic fundamentals within 3 to 4 sessions, and then we'll jump over on a actual iOS application development, and the weapons are loaded there. Almost we are there. We need to understand the collection type and everything, and then we are ready to go with iOS application development with complete knowledge of Swift programming, right? Thanks again.